January 27, 2026, 2:14 p.m. Strait of Hormuz. The USS Porter transits international waters through one of the world's most dangerous choke points. 20% of global oil supply passes through this narrow strait, 39 miles wide at its narrowest point. Iranian territory on one side, Omani on the other. The Porter is conducting a routine transit, freedom of navigation, maintaining international law, standard procedure. The destroyer has made this passage dozens of times, but today, 8 Iranian Revolutionary Guard speedboats are about to turn routine into a 40-minute standoff that brings two nations to the edge of combat. And what those 40 minutes reveal about modern naval warfare will change how you understand the conflict in the Persian Gulf. The numbers seem simple. 1 American destroyer, 7,000 tons, advanced weapon systems, trained crew, against 8 speedboats, fast attack craft, Revolutionary Guard sailors with AK-47s and machine guns. But in the Strait of Hormuz, numbers lie. The USS Porter had entered the strait at 1:47 p.m. Standard transit speed, 16 knots, maintaining the traffic separation scheme that keeps commercial and military vessels organized. The strait is crowded. Tankers, cargo ships, fishing boats, naval vessels from multiple nations, everyone following international maritime law. The Porter's watch officers maintained situational awareness, radar tracking dozens of contacts, visual confirmation of nearby vessels, radio monitoring commercial traffic. Everything normal, everything routine. At 2:11 p.m., radar detected 8 fast-moving contacts, small vessels, high speed, approaching from Iranian territorial waters. Not unusual. Revolutionary Guard frequently patrol the strait. Sometimes they shadow American vessels. Sometimes they maintain distance. Usually they stay professional. Not today. The 8 speedboats accelerated toward the Porter. Not on intercept course yet, but closing distance. Fast. The watch officer noted it. Informed the captain. Commander Robert Hayes came to the bridge. 34 years old. Second command. Experienced officer. He'd dealt with Iranian vessels before. This felt different. At 2:13 p.m., the speedboats changed course, directly toward the Porter. Formation spread. 3 from port side, 3 from starboard, 2 from stern. Classic swarming tactic, designed to overwhelm defensive systems, designed to create confusion, designed to threaten. Commander Hayes ordered battle stations. General quarters sounded. Sailors ran to weapons positions. The Porter's defensive systems activated. Phalanx, CIWS ready. Machine guns manned. The destroyer prepared for combat while hoping to avoid it. At 2:14 p.m., the speedboats closed within 500 yards, still accelerating. The Porter's radio officer transmitted warnings. Standard procedure. Iranian vessels, this is U.S. Navy warship. You are approaching at unsafe speed. Alter course immediately. No response. The boats kept coming. Commander Hayes had rules of engagement. Clear guidelines. Steps to take. Warning shots authorized if vessel approached within 50 yards while ignoring communications. But warning shots meant escalation, meant tension, meant potential combat. He tried other options first. At 2:15 p.m., the Porter sounded its horn. 5 short blasts. International signal for danger. For immediate action required. The sound echoed across the water. Loud. Unmistakable. The speedboats ignored it. They closed within 300 yards. The Porter fired flares. Pyrotechnic warning devices. Bright red. Arcing over the speedboats. International signal. Stop. Danger. Turn away. The speedboats kept coming. 200 yards. 150 yards. 100 yards. Stay with me. because what happens in the next 60 seconds determines whether this becomes a shooting war. At 52 yards, Commander Hayes made the decision. The Iranian boats had violated every protocol, ignored every warning, created dangerous situation. Under rules of engagement, he was authorized to use force. Fire warning shots, 50 caliber, 10 feet in front of lead boat. The M2 Browning machine gun on the Porter's port side opened fire. 5 rounds. Tracer rounds visible, streaking across the water, impacting 10 feet ahead of the lead Iranian speedboat. Massive geysers of water. Impossible to miss. Impossible to misunderstand. This was the final warning. Before the Porter would start shooting to kill, the Iranian boat's response was immediate. They broke off, turned away, backed off to 200 yards. The swarming attack stopped. The immediate threat ended. But they didn't leave. For the next 40 minutes, 8 Iranian Revolutionary Guard speedboats circled the USS Porter at 200 yards distance, maintaining visual contact, maintaining presence, not attacking, not departing, just circling, like sharks, like predators, like a message being sent. And during those 40 minutes, 3 things happened that reveal the real story of this confrontation. First, the Iranians maintained radio silence. No communication, no explanation, no acknowledgement of American warnings. They just circled, silent, watching. Second, more Iranian vessels arrived. Not speedboats, larger craft, Revolutionary Guard corvettes. 2 of them, positioning themselves between the Porter and Iranian territorial waters, creating a barrier, creating a line, showing strength. Third, and most importantly, the Iranians were recording everything. Cameras on every boat, filming the American destroyer, filming their own boats circling, documenting the confrontation, building a narrative. Because this wasn't about sinking the Porter. This was about creating a story. And what that story would say depended on how the next 40 minutes played out. Commander Hayes understood the game. He'd been briefed on provoke American vessels, get aggressive response, film it, edit it, use it for propaganda, claim American aggression, claim self-defense, claim violation of Iranian rights. But he also knew the tactical reality. 8 speedboats could do damage. They carried weapons, could fire on the Porter, could attempt boarding, could create casualties before being destroyed. In confined waters like the Strait of Hormuz, small boats were dangerous, especially if they were willing to die. Were they willing to die? That was the question that defined the next 40 minutes. At 2:19 p.m., Commander Hayes made his first radio call to 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. We have Iranian harassment. 8 speedboats circling at 200 yards. 2 corvettes positioning, requesting guidance and support. 5th Fleet's response was immediate. Maintain course. Do not escalate. Air support en route. The Porter continued transit, maintaining speed, maintaining course. The Iranian boats continued circling, maintaining distance, maintaining pressure. At 2:24 p.m., something changed. One of the speedboats broke formation, accelerated toward the Porter, closing distance, not swarming speed, not attack speed, but faster than circling, testing, probing, seeing what the Americans would do. The Porter's weapons tracked the boat, machine guns trained, ready to fire. Commander Hayes on the radio. Iranian vessel, you are approaching at unsafe speed. Maintain 200-yard distance. Further approach will be met with defensive fire. The speedboat stopped at 120 yards, held position for 30 seconds, then backed off to 200 yards, rejoined the circle. Testing, learning, pushing boundaries. At 2:31 p.m., a different boat did the same thing. Accelerated inward, closed to 100 yards, held position, backed off. Same pattern, same test, same message. We can get close whenever we want. Commander Hayes didn't fire, didn't escalate. The boats were staying outside the 50-yard threshold, weren't creating immediate threat, just harassment, just pressure, just testing American resolve. But every approach raised tension. Every test brought them closer to combat. Every probe risked miscalculation. One nervous trigger finger, one aggressive boat captain, one mistake, and 40 minutes of standoff would become minutes of combat. At 2:37 p.m., the air support arrived. 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets from an aircraft carrier operating in the Arabian Sea. The fighters came in low and fast, supersonic, the sound barrier breaking overhead, the message unmistakable. American air power, ready to engage, ready to destroy every Iranian boat in seconds. The Iranian speedboats reacted immediately. They tightened their circle, moved closer together. Defensive posture. The 2 corvettes moved closer to Iranian territorial waters, creating distance from the fighters. Everyone understood what those jets meant. The tactical balance had shifted, but the Iranians didn't leave. They maintained the circle, maintained the standoff, maintained their presence, even with American fighters overhead, even with the tactical advantage lost. They stayed. Why? What was worth risking combat with American air power overhead? The answer wasn't about tactics. It was about narrative, about video, about the story being filmed by every Iranian boat. At 2:42 p.m., Commander Hayes received new orders from 5th Fleet. Maintain course. Do not engage unless directly threatened. Air cover will remain on station. Continue transit. The Porter continued. The Iranian boats continued circling. The F/A-18s continued orbiting overhead. A 3-way standoff. American destroyer. Iranian boats. American fighters. Everyone armed. Everyone ready. Everyone waiting for someone else to make a mistake. At 2:47 p.m., 33 minutes into the standoff, the Iranian boats began to separate. Slowly, gradually, increasing distance from the Porter. Not leaving, just creating space. The 2 corvettes also backed off, maintaining visual contact but reducing tension. By 2:54 p.m., the speedboats were at 500 yards. By 3:01 p.m., they were 1,000 yards away. At 3:07 p.m., they turned and headed back toward Iranian territorial waters. The standoff was over. The F/A-18s remained on station for another 20 minutes, ensuring the Iranians didn't return, ensuring the Porter safely transited the strait. By 3:30 p.m., the destroyer was through the narrow section, in open water. The immediate danger passed, but the real story was just beginning. Because 6 hours later, Iranian state television broadcast footage of the incident, edited footage, carefully selected clips, showing American destroyer firing weapons, showing Iranian boats maintaining distance, showing what appeared to be American aggression against peaceful Iranian patrol. The narration claimed the Porter had violated Iranian waters, claimed the speedboats were conducting routine patrol, claimed American warning shots were unprovoked attack, claimed Iran showed restraint by not returning fire, claimed American aggression in the Persian Gulf. The video went viral in Iran. Middle Eastern media picked it up. Anti-American groups shared it. The narrative was set. American destroyer attacks Iranian patrol boats. Iran shows restraint. America is aggressor. Except it was a lie. Carefully constructed. Expertly edited. Completely false. The U.S. Navy released its own footage 12 hours later. Unedited. Complete. showing the full sequence. Iranian boats swarming the destroyer, ignoring warnings, forcing warning shots, circling aggressively, creating dangerous situation, backing off only after shots fired and fighters arrived. The American footage showed the truth, but it was 12 hours late. The Iranian narrative had already spread, already been accepted by their audience, already created the perception they wanted. That was the real purpose of the 40-minute standoff. Not to sink the Porter, not to test American defenses, but to create propaganda, to film an incident, to edit it into a narrative, to show Iranian strength and American aggression. Commander Hayes had understood this. That's why he'd been careful, why he'd followed rules of engagement precisely, why he'd documented everything, why he hadn't escalated. He knew the Iranians were filming, knew they wanted American overreaction, knew restraint was the correct response. But here's what disturbed Navy leadership. Here's what kept Fifth Fleet commanders awake that night. The realization that modern naval confrontation isn't just about weapons and tactics. It's about cameras and narratives. It's about who controls the story. The Iranians had 40 boats they could have sent. They sent 8. Not enough to overwhelm the Porter. Just enough to create threatening video. They had larger vessels available. They sent small speedboats. More dramatic. More David versus Goliath. Better for propaganda. They approached within 52 yards. Not 50. Not 40. Exactly the distance needed to force American response without creating justification for lethal force. They'd calculated it, planned it, executed it perfectly. And when the warning shots were fired, they didn't flee. They circled, maintaining presence, maintaining camera angles, filming American weapons firing, filming their own boats remaining, creating the footage they needed. The 40-minute standoff wasn't military confrontation. It was film production, theater, performance art, with real weapons and real risk, but orchestrated for cameras, designed for editing, planned for propaganda effect. That's what modern warfare looks like in the Persian Gulf. Not battles, not sinkings, but carefully staged incidents designed to create narratives. Provocations calculated to force responses that can be edited into propaganda. And the most disturbing part, it works. Iranian domestic audience believed their version. Middle Eastern media questioned American actions. International observers asked why American destroyer was firing on patrol boats. The narrative was effective despite being false, because the truth doesn't matter if you control the story. And in the age of social media and viral videos, the first story matters more than the true story. The edited version spreads faster than the complete version. The narrative beats the facts. Commander Hayes did everything right, followed procedures, maintained discipline, avoided escalation, protected his ship and crew. His actions were textbook. His judgment was sound. But the Iranians got what they wanted anyway. They got their video. They got their narrative. They got their propaganda victory. And they did it by turning American professionalism into a weakness, by forcing the Porter to respond, then filming that response out of context. This is happening regularly now. Every few months, Iranian boats provoke American vessels, force responses, film the encounters, edit the footage, broadcast their version. Each incident adds to the narrative. American aggression, Iranian restraint, David versus Goliath in the Persian Gulf. The military calls it lawfare, using international law and media to achieve what can't be achieved through combat, provoking legal responses, documenting them, presenting them as illegal aggression, winning in court of public opinion what you'd lose in combat. Iran has mastered this. They know they can't defeat American Navy in battle. can't sink destroyers, can't win firefights. Their speedboats would be obliterated in seconds by American firepower. So they don't try to win battles. They try to win narratives. They create incidents, force American responses, document those responses, edit them into stories of American aggression and Iranian victimhood. And there's no good counter. Can't ignore the speedboats. They're genuine threat. Can't overreact. That's what they want. Can't underreact. That shows weakness. Every option serves Iranian propaganda somehow. The Porter incident is studied now at Naval War College. Training scenario. What do you do when the enemy's real weapon is their camera? When their real target is international perception? When the battlefield is social media? There are no good answers, only least bad options. Document everything. Follow procedures exactly. Respond proportionally. Release footage quickly. Counter the narrative, but knowing you'll always be 12 hours behind. Always defending, always explaining, always losing the narrative battle, even while winning the tactical one. Commander Hayes was promoted. His handling of the incident was cited as exemplary. His crew received commendations. The Porter continued operations without incident. But everyone knows the truth. The Iranians got what they wanted. They created their video, told their story, achieved their propaganda goal. The 40-minute standoff was their victory, not because they threatened the Porter, but because they controlled the narrative afterward. That's modern naval warfare in the Persian Gulf. Not about sinking ships, about shaping perceptions. Not about winning battles, about winning narratives. Not about casualties, about cameras. The 8 speedboats didn't need to sink the Porter. They just needed to get close enough to be filmed. The warning shots didn't need to hit anyone. They just needed to be captured on video. The 40-minute standoff didn't need to end in combat. It just needed to provide enough footage to edit into propaganda. Mission accomplished. The Iranians went home. The Porter continued transit. Nobody died. Nobody was injured. No shots hit their targets. By traditional metrics, nothing happened. But by modern metrics, Iran won. They got their footage, their narrative, their propaganda value. They demonstrated they could provoke American vessels, force responses, create incidents, control the story. And they'll do it again. Next month. Next year. Same tactics. Same calculations. Same careful provocation. Designed to force American response that can be filmed and edited and broadcast as aggression. Because that's what warfare looks like now. Cameras and speedboats. Warning shots and edited videos. Tactical standoffs and propaganda victories. The real battle isn't fought with weapons. It's fought with narratives. And in that battle, truth is less important than timing. Facts are less important than framing. Reality is less important than the edited version. The USS Porter safely transited the Strait of Hormuz on January 27, 2026. Mission accomplished. Crew safe. No casualties. No damage. By every tactical measure, a successful transit. But somewhere in Tehran, video editors were crafting a different story. One where American destroyer attacked peaceful Iranian patrol boats. Where Iran showed restraint. Where America was aggressor. Where David stood up to Goliath. That story spread faster than the truth. Reached more people than the facts. Created more impact than reality. Because modern warfare isn't about truth. It's about narrative. And in the battle of narratives, the first story wins, even when it's a lie. The 40-minute standoff in the Strait of Hormuz wasn't about sinking ships or winning battles. It was about creating footage, forcing responses, building narratives. And in that mission, the Iranians succeeded perfectly. They went home with their cameras full, their story ready, their propaganda victory achieved, while the Porter, went home with tactical success and strategic defeat, with military victory and narrative loss. That's the real lesson from January 27th. That sometimes the enemy's most effective weapon isn't their guns, it's their cameras. And the most dangerous battlefield isn't the Strait, it's social media. The standoff ended. The boats departed. The crisis passed. But the video lives forever. And every time it's shared, every time it's viewed, every time it shapes perception, the Iranians win again. That's modern warfare, where battles are fought with edits and narratives, where victory goes to whoever controls the story, where truth is less important than the version that spreads fastest. The USS Porter did everything right, and lost anyway, because in the age of viral videos and propaganda warfare, doing everything right isn't enough. You also have to win the narrative battle. And in that battle, he who films first and edits fastest wins, even when they're lying.